Hello, everybody. I want to talk a little bit now about can you see God? That's a question that a 6-year-old would ask. And it's a question that we all asked. A lot of us see God in a lot of different ways. Some of us, when we think about uh, God in these different ways, we see God as a supreme being. We see God here, and you can see as a tree of life and encompassing all of the universe and all of the world, sort of a all in all. Then we see God as the sun that shines. And this was a original thought that people had about God being a majestic light that shines bright on all that is. And of course, we know now that the sun is just another sun. We think of God as a shepherd with sheep, especially in Christianity. Jesus is often referred to as a good shepherd who cares and protects the flock, and we are, in fact, his flock. We see God also as a tree of life, or roots of a tree of life for everything that's living. A lot of us see God as a loving parent. Many of us imagine God as a loving parent and providing guidance and support to all of us. Some of us see God as a mystical figure. Some spiritual traditions believe God is represented as a mystical figure that is beyond our human understanding. This can be concluded with images of angels and divine beings. But can we see God? Can we see him? That's the great question of all times, particularly for a child. Many people have different beliefs about whether we can see God or not. Even when we look at the idea of a root or a tree of life or the Star of Bethlehem and what was behind that star. God was behind that star that shone over the birth of Jesus Christ in the Christian tradition. Others believe that God can take on different forms and that we can see God in different ways. For example, many people believe that you and I are a divine being, that this little creature that was created as a result of a long line of revolution has resulted, and let's put a little child here too, because children are definitely the offspring of their parents. And in looking at that, we began to see um, that, for example, we believe anyway that we see God in the beauty of nature, in the beauty of nature, and in the kindness of people, or in our own hearts, the heart of all of us. So we see God in all of us and in all of our hearts. So can we see God? Well, the answer is that it depends on what you believe. Some people say that they have seen God, and while others say, I have not seen God, but I certainly feel his presence and feel his power in my life. But no matter what you believe, it's important to remember that God here as a light, and certainly from the sun, a light that comes from the sun to all that's created, that God's presence from the very beginning was with us, and we are sovereign beings, that he gave us some light, and it allows us to dwell in this world. If we can't see him with our eyes, we certainly feel like we can feel him based on what we believe. We feel God's presence in our lives in a lot of ways, at least three. And let's take a look at ways in which we can feel God's presence in our life. One is Prayer, prayer. Prayer, which is talking to God. Prayer, which is talking to God. And then there is another way we can see God. And I call it meditation. 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 And then the final way another way anyway, of seeing God is through good deeds. Good deeds. Kindness. Or we'll just change that so we can see it. Good deeds. We'll put that over here. Things that we can do to show compassion and love. And all of this divine being, this sovereign being that we are, coming with the light of the sun, created by God, we can certainly tap into that spark of divinity that all comes from who God is in us and who we can be in God. If you ever want to talk to God, these are some of the ways. You can talk every time you do some good deeds. You're talking every time you meditate, which is listening to God in silence. And then there's prayer, where you use words to talk to God. You can always pray. You can always listen. So, while we may not be able to see God with our own eyes, we can feel his love. And that's a critical component of all love, we call it. And it's unconditional love. And we can feel that love and guidance in our hearts. And believe it or not, whether we know it or not, accept it or not, that is something that's very, very special for all of us.